and Paul Catalina.
It's a massive group, the Texas High School Football Coaches Association, having their convention down in San Antonio. Earlier was now Cody Alexander with matchquarters.com and his thoughts about listening to Dave Aranda. Sam Kahn is there, works for theathletic.com, covers college football, joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Sam, I thought it was really cool yesterday, the picture of 12 of the FBS head coaches on one panel and just kind of shooting it about whatever segment or topic it was. How much did you learn from any of that?
Not a ton, just because I think a lot of the questions that were thrown at them were pretty commiserate with what we were talking about on a daily basis and what we asked about, what we asked them about on a regular basis. So not necessarily surprising. I think Jeff Traylor at UTSA had the best line of the night, where Craig Way asked him about bowl games and the idea of how to keep them interesting and alive, and he proposed, why don't we give 10,000 to the winners and 5,000 to the losers? He goes, my guys will get their butts up to play. So yep. It was very joking in his tone, but I think there's actually something to that. But overall, I enjoy that event every year, and I enjoy that particular panel because it is really cool to see all 12 FBS head coaches stay in one room on one stage answering questions. It's a really cool opportunity for the high school coaches to see that too.
All right, so I saw the picture of both Joe Castiglione and Chris Del Conte taking questions or whatever they were doing. How many of them are surrounded the SEC?
we asked them. They didn't really take questions from the high school administrators, high school coaches. They really were just talking about how to very more general concepts on leadership and things that they've had to deal with in the last couple of years. Going all the way back to the start of the pandemic and things like that. But a few small group reporters, including myself, talked to him afterwards, and we obviously asked him about that timing. After Brett Yormark said last week that typically he would look for a win-win scenario, and both of them have, as you would expect, remained steadfast in that public 2025 timeline. Chris Del Conte pretty much said, that's something in the future. Right now, we're still a member of the Big 12. We're still planning to be a member of the Big 12. But Joe Castiglione had said that, there's a lot of changing, and if that facilitates a conversation that needs to take place about an earlier departure, then, obviously it's something that they're going to listen to. But in the meantime, they're focused on trying to be the best member of the Big 12 they can while they're in it. So they've pretty much stuck to their same timeline. They haven't really had much interaction with Brett Yormark other than the Zoom calls that the other ADs have been on in the league. They haven't met him personally. Obviously, they've heard some of his comments last week, but overall, they're still pretty much sticking to the public stance they've had for the last year.
Sam, I know you couldn't be there in Arlington in person last week, unfortunately, but you did, I'm sure, get to hear Brett Yormark and a lot of the other things that were being talked about. What were maybe some of your biggest overall prevailing thoughts coming out of Big 12 Media Days last week?
Yeah, I thought it's certainly nice to see an interesting new face with a new voice. He certainly seems to have some good ideas and certainly seems to be ready to kind of shake things up. I thought it was notable and interesting. I guess it was maybe obvious, but I think it was interesting that he was willing to acknowledge that, hey, we're going to be aggressive, or we're going to try to be aggressive. And I think that those who watch that conference and support that conference, I think that's encouraging for them, because they need someone, I think, who will do that and who will, fight for them and try to help keep them not just surviving, but thriving in the long-term future. So I think he's going to be a really good addition to this league. And I think obviously there's going to be some challenges. There's going to be a learning curve for him because he's not been in college athletics. But I think that there's some advantages of that because of the world that he's coming from. And I think he's going to be able to bring a different perspective, and the way this sport is going and the direction that we're moving and what matters in the large landscape of things. I think it's important to have some of the knowledge that he has. But overall, I think they put on a good show, and I think he put on a good face for the conference, and I think he's going to be a really compelling leader to watch moving forward.
With the picture of Sam up on the screen, put that back up for a second, Garrett. His Twitter feed at the bottom left-hand corner, S. Con Jr. You have a pinned tweet. You have the state of the program on Texas Tech. Not sure if you heard today Don Williams in the Lubbock Avalanche Journal mentioning that they are going to give each of 85 scholarship players, football, and the top 15 walk-ons a donor collective of $25,000 each. Your thoughts about how much that might help Texas Tech football?
Oh boy, I think it's going to help them a lot. I did read that. I actually, right before I finished my story on Del Conte and Castiglione, I did see that from Don, and I had heard Cody Campbell kind of mentioning that in recent weeks, that promoting that the Matador Club was going to have a big announcement of this sort. And when you come off of their announcement last week of what they're going to do with South End Zone and what to do to their football building, they already obviously have their indoor facility. Boy, Texas Tech is sure putting up when it comes to investing in the program and potential success in the new Big 12. They've even before this point, they stepped up the staff salary pool. Cody Campbell and Dusty Womble have given a lot of money, toward the facilities and other things that they needed. There seems to be a lot of energy, obviously, around Joe McGuire. It's really interesting to me to see this program energized in the way it is right now, and this latest endeavor with the NIL and this the Matador Club announcement. It's got to be compelling. I think if you're a Texas high school football player and you're getting recruited by Texas Tech, that definitely makes you think, because that's money in your pocket, and that's that the NIL has changed the game at this point. And Texas Tech and Cody Campbell have said that they don't want to be left behind. They want to be in the conversation to be in the national race in that regard, and that you have to be involved in this, I think, in order to be that. So I'm really I don't want to say surprised, but it definitely was an eye-popping number to see, not just the 25,000, but to see 100 players and including the walk-ons. So that is fascinating to me, and I think it's another one of those things that is just a byproduct of what we've seen since NIL got lifted in the last year, and it's, as we continue to evolve, all these things are just new things that we're coming into, and we just have to learn how to deal with them.
Sam, there's no doubt that football's treated a little bit differently here in the state of Texas, and we got viewers from all over. So I don't know how much the coaches convention in like Maryland or Pennsylvania or whatever, like how much play that gets. But can you kind of describe the THSCA convention and just all that comes with that?
It truly is, I think, a one-of-a-kind event. And like you, I don't know that I've been to other – I guess it's hard to say definitively because I haven't been to other high school coach conventions in the country. Right. I've spent my entire career covering Texas. But, the PR people here were telling me they're expecting it's supposed to be more than 15,000 high school coaches this year and administrators. So that will be a record. They'll announce the final number tomorrow at the end of the convention. But that would be a record if they hit that. And I've been here before, and it's consistently – 12, 13, 14,000 in one area. And then that doesn't include the college coaches who come, and you have every staff in the state is here. We're here the last 2 days. I see not just at the FBS level, but the FCS level, Division II. You've got schools, Division III, even NAI. You've got schools from all levels here on the college ranks. And it's truly cool because to me, it is cool to see everybody in there in one spot, but also it's a chance to learn. It's a chance to develop. You've got college head coaches, college assistant coaches going out here doing lectures and, sharing information. Here's how we coach this. Here's how we do that. Brennan Marion, the receivers coach in Texas, was down in the exhibit hall yesterday doing a demonstration for receiver coaches on receivers drills and things he teaches. And, I heard some high school coaches say they learn more from that in 20 minutes than maybe they've learned in, 20 years, on how to coach receivers. And that is invaluable experience for these high school coaches who are, some of them have been in a long time, but some of them are just coming up and trying to make their way and trying to get better at their craft. And that's, I think, what the heart of this is professional development for those coaches. And not even just for the high school coaches, for the college coaches. I saw there was an assistant coach at another college here yesterday, and he said, I'm going to go over here to listen to Terry Joseph at Texas. I'm going to go listen to Doug Belk at Houston. I'm going to see if I can steal some ideas from him, because that's part of the game is, X's and O's and philosophies and how you run your program. Those are things that everybody shares challenges with, and everybody's trying to figure out the best way to do it. And this is a great place to exchange those ideas and make some friendships along the way.
Sam, thank you, buddy. Glad you're feeling better.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you guys having me.
Sam Kahn, theathletic.com, covers college football, but down at a place where there's all sorts of coaches who have been around. And obviously as he said, nearly 15,000 Texas high school football coaches, the convention in San Antonio. And I was so thrilled over the weekend one of my favorite people ever in coaching, Dennis Alexander of Dangerfield High School. He retired for the last few years. He's been at other schools like Henderson, etc., Harleton, Hughes Springs, and also Troop. He was inducted into the Texas High School Coaches Association Hall of Honor. And my God, it's about time. So congratulations to a great friend of Dennis, with Dennis Alexander being a part of the Hall of Honor. One of the coolest parts is when he was presented the award, John King of Longview, a great friend of ours as well, was the one that was on the stage with him. All right, when